What is happening, Resignation? It's Greg over here.
This is John.
So we saw the movie Atomic Blonde.
Atomic Blonde.
This movie is way better than John Wick, and is exactly what you wanted. It is Jane Wick.
It's already better than Deadpool 2
It's already better than Deadpool 2. I'm telling you guys, man. Best movie of the year. No.
I wanted it to be.
No. I realized we never actually, you know, give what the plot is about, like every other movie review on YouTube. You ready for it? It's the 1980s.
In the future, Immortan Joe has basically like hoarded all the water, right?
It's 1980s.
The Berlin Wall is up.
It's up, but it hasn't come down just yet. Takes place just a few days before this happens. This list, you know those spy movies where a list of everyone important.
The spies.
All the spies. You know, you've seen plenty of movies do this plot, and then it's been stolen, and someone's trying to sell it or something.
Get that list before it winds up in the wrong hands.
They send in Lorraine Broughton, played by Charlize Theron, to go and retrieve the list, and she has to team up with James McAvoy to find out, you know, who has the list. And of course, there's deception along the way. There's bigger plot intrigue, sort of
double crosses, triple crosses.
Oh man, we make it sound more exciting than the movie actually is. John, let's start off with some positives. All right.
Hey, there are some positives.
There are
about
some
this
definite positives. Charlize Theron,
a badass.
If you saw the trailer for this movie and you were like, "Whoa, Charlize, you look sexy. You look badass. You look like you trained for this movie."
Yeah, like you trained.
She does all that, man. She's killer in this role.
This is the weird movie where everything you thought you were gonna get from the trailer is there, but the movie is not exactly what you thought it was gonna be.
Yeah. And Charlize Theron, does a really good job in the physicality and the badassness of this. Personally, I would have liked her character to be a little more interesting in terms of the writing department, but for what they gave Charlize Theron to do, she definitely is the star of this whole movie. Like, she's the main reason to watch this film.
She is the nucleus of this entire experience. And
she is the Atomic Blonde.
She is. There are a number of moments in which she lives up to that title.
Oh, totally. And you could tell she really did put in the physical training and effort for this, man.
Yeah, it's like if we were just grading this movie on Charlize Theron alone, I would be, you know, really high up on whatever our rating scale is.
James McAvoy, he's really good in the movie. Out of all the characters that get a chance to do some different things and shine and really have fun with their roles, it's definitely James McAvoy in this film. He has one of those roles where you're like, he's hopping back and forth between,
can we trust this guy? And is he, you know, is he out of his mind, or is he actually pretty calm and collected and, you know, just putting up a good front, you know? And there's a lot of that with these characters across the board. There's a lot of deception and who's on whose side and
who's playing a double agent.
At least the main cast seems like they get to demonstrate a few different sides of their personality, which is cool to watch. Like, the performances are some of the best parts of this movie, and McAvoy is definitely one of the top.
Oh, absolutely. Sophia Boutella, you know, that actress who's really hot, who never really quite gets the chance to fully shine in the world she started casting.
Dude, I wish somebody would let her, like, I don't know, star in something. Or every time I've seen her in a movie, I feel like I've been like, yeah, I like you a lot. I wish you had more to do.
She's really good in the film, though. She is. She's not exactly a badass character like the trailer might lead you to think she is. She's one of the more vulnerable characters,
She is a breath of fresh air in terms of the kinds of characters you get and the way they emote. Yeah,
definitely. And especially for, like, the spy world, because her character is like a fresh spy. And, you know, they do have that lesbian scene, which was awesome. It's like an action lesbian scene.
Pretty titillating. It's like almost like a fight scene in the way that it's sort of like a power play.
It's like an action sex.
It's like, they're both really into this, but they're also, like, you know, trading. I don't know what you call it.
But they really commit to it, and I will say that this film, the first half is not all that interesting. It really isn't. Like, it starts off in a way where you think it's gonna pick up steam, and then it just doesn't.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of, like, thinking you're about to shift into high gear, and
then it
doesn't.
And a lot of, we're about to get a really cool action scene, and then the action scene takes place, you're like, passable. not that great. You know?
Yeah, and you know, the thing is, like, so many of these scenes have good things in them, but it's the way that they orchestrate the build-up. It's like right away you kind of adjust to the idea that you're doing not crazy-ass action movie, not for a while. You're doing a spy movie.
The thing is, the first half is really not that interesting, especially because the stakes are not really felt. It's just a lot of plot-heavy information.
Yeah,
the pacing is slow.
It doesn't feel as important as the movie seems to think.
Yeah, the movie thinks it's cooler than what's actually going on. You could tell, like, the filmmakers thought this is more interesting to them than the audience will find it.
Yeah, and I don't, and it's like a compellingness thing. Yeah. Even some of the plot details, like, they're not bad. Like, it's an alright plot. It's a lived-in spy movie, but at the same time, you're like, this isn't as compelling as I want it to be, and I'm not quite sure why some of the time.
The reason I decided to bring all this up was because I felt like the movie didn't start shifting gears into actual interesting territory until Sofia Boutella's character was firmly established as to who she is.
Yeah, when she really shows up in the plot.
Like the midpoint of
about
the movie.
About halfway. I like the second half of this movie probably better. I enjoyed it a lot more than the first.
Because that's when personal stakes start to feel lived in. So that's when that's when actual like intensity it doesn't like suddenly shift into this film is intense and gripping. It starts to fluctuate in that arena a lot more often. Right around the time her character is firmly introduced, when she meets with Charlize Theron's character.
More mystery starts to pop up, and things stop going quite according to plan, and that's when things start to shift around.
Exactly. So she's great in the film. The action scenes, for the most part, are just alright. Most of them are just, they're good. They look cooler in the trailers. Like, they're all good.
Yeah.
But they're not exactly the most exciting thing. Although, and I'm sure you've heard plenty of other people talk about this, the big stairwell fight that they advertised in the trailer that they showed at Comic-Con, I know that they showed a specific portion of that at Comic-Con, but it's even longer than what they showed at Comic-Con. That is fantastic.
That is a stellar sequence.
That is amazing.
That sequence blew me away, like, continuously.
As a matter of fact,
that kept blowing me away.
The build up to that fight made the rest of the movie seem a little more worth it. I just wish the journey along the way was more interesting, so the build up was even more rewarding by the time we got to that fight. Because that fight was fantastic. It's primarily in one shot. It's one of those fights that's all in one take. You know, like when she's effing the heck up at people. It's a lot of censoring myself. I just
when she's flipping the heck out of guys.
Yeah. They're like getting bruised up and they're getting exhausted and there's blood gushing and stuff. You said out loud, like, how are they doing the makeup?
Yeah, like, where did the makeup come from? Like, some of the blood splatter, like, on the walls you can tell is CG, but half the time you're like, they're bleeding!
Yeah, and their faces are getting more messed up.
And they're just panning around. Like, it's one of those, like, one long shot, almost like a Daredevil fight, you know?
And it was an incredible sequence that takes place even further past the hallway fighting. That whole finale
is spectacular.
Is much better than the entirety of the film.
And you kind of wish that some of the other stuff in the movie had been as gripping and as cool and as, you know, and really deliver. Like, that scene is the one of the parts of this movie that delivers on the promise that we all got excited.
Yeah, exactly. And it's worth watching for that one fight.
Oh yeah.
It is. I mean, you could just like rent the movie and go to that fight if you want, but
you might enjoy this more on video.
I think you would. Yeah. I think you would. Especially if you're like going in fully aware this is one of the dudes who did John Wick. I thought, okay, this is going back more to the John Wick 1 territory, whereas there's no action in the beginning, and then once we get to an action, it's gonna be freaking sweet, and it doesn't ever hit that mark until you're in the finale of the movie, where you're like, there it is. That's what I've been waiting for this entire film. Yeah.
And even so, there's not quite as much catharsis in this as John Wick, so that's another kind of thing that it is missing. For this kind of movie, especially about, you know, spies and double-crossing, and for as much bone-crunching action as they put in that trailer, you expect a little more catharsis.
The cinematography's great. The
lighting
is amazing.
The editing, for the most part, is pretty good. Yeah. There are a couple fights that I actually thought could have been shot and cut better.
And, you know, a lot of people, I feel, are comparing this to the music choice to Suicide Squad. I wouldn't put it on that level. Suicide Squad is a random playlist, okay? That is David Ayer putting his playlist on random. This movie at least had a consistency with 80s pop music.
Yeah.
It wasn't like House of the Rising Sun. Then let's play some Eminem here, you know? Like,
yeah, it was like, it was cool music, yeah, but
Yeah.
in context, and it all kind of flowed with a theme, whereas Suicide Squad just feels like, check out all these cool songs!
Yeah,
you know?
This movie's music choices aren't edited or composed as well as something like Baby Driver, but I didn't find it to be problematic. It was a little indulgent. I don't know why so many people are complaining about it.
And there were actually, honestly, there were a couple editing choices with the music that actually worked really well.
Yeah, totally. I wouldn't call it necessarily like a bad or terrible film. I just think it's more disappointing than anything else.
Yeah,
because what it lacks is excitement. It's kind of tedious. At times the plot is surprisingly confusing and not that interesting. And that's a problem for me. When I'm like, not only is this not that interesting, it's also kind of confusing at times.
Yeah.
Especially in the finale. It gets like over convoluted with twists.
Yeah, and then you get to that place where you're like trying to keep up because you want to, but you're also like, I don't like,
really care anymore.
Yeah, you kind of almost become, not annoyed, but it's in that family of feelings. Where you're like, wait, hold on, what?
And I feel like the characters are very much two-dimensional. I felt like the actors provided a lot more than what the writing provided.
This is another one of those movies where, like, on one hand, I get not getting to know them super well because, you know, that's the point, is they're all spies and we don't know who anybody is, but at the same time, yeah, it's like there's something missing from these characters that makes them just less than gripping.
But they always have moments for personal touches. The big part of the setup is Charlize Theron, like, big motivation, at least what the film's hinting at, is that this person who got killed, who had the list taken away from them, is someone she formerly had an affair with or some type of sexual romantic relationship with. Then it seems like, oh, they're gonna, like, this is a big revenge factor for her.
Yeah.
Then you kind of just forget about it. You forget all about it, never brought up again.
Another chess piece.
I feel like it just kept doing that. Every time it had a chance to be more personal and have something more emotionally at stake instead of government plot stuff, that's just what would have made it better. I mean, I feel like the pacing tries to be cool and slow moving, but really it just makes the movie feel slow and the film thinks it's cooler than what it is. Like, it makes for a great trailer.
You kind of eschew some of the new wavier elements where you're kind of just watching people in cars or you know, sitting and pouring drinks and you know, doing stuff like that.
A lot of smoking cigarettes.
And those things aren't bad, but they do start to rack up to a point where you're like, these seem just like stylistic flourishes that aren't being paid off by much underneath them.
It's just void of emotional substance. That's basically it.
Just sidebar, because we hardly touch on this, but the costume design, just the wardrobes in this movie are off the chain. Like, they're great.
And the sound design's really good too. Because there were times where I was wondering, there's like certain scenes where I was thinking, if there wasn't sound effects, would I find this as cringeworthy? You know? Sometimes the sound effects make you cringe.
There are definitely a couple of those.
Overall, the performances are really good. Charlize Theron as the Atomic Blonde kicks a lot of ass. There's a great finale action sequence in there that lasts a good amount of time that makes it really worth it, and I know people in the audience were very much invested in that fight, even they were kind of zoning out before that. It's thinly written. The characters are not developed that well. It's not that exciting.
It's a plot movie. It's not a character movie.
Yeah, and the plot's not even that interesting. It's because it's like very familiar and not that fresh. We don't really have a very specific rating system we stick to, but Wendy Lee asked us to give it a score out of 10, and I said fine. And John and I, we talked about it before, and we had the same score. 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I would go with like a solid 6.5. Maybe if I'm thinking about the stuff I love, maybe like a light 7.
Yeah.
I feel general goodwill towards, you know, it's all right. But I don't think it's as cool or exciting or smart as it thinks it is. It's just not 100%.
Well, guys, that's our review of Atomic Blonde. Subscribe to The Real Rejects. Click that notification bell. John Humphrey on Twitter and Instagram. And you can check out our Patreon. Do it.
Do it to it.
You'd like it. I guarantee it. You're gonna like the way you look when you pledge.